Welcome to another episode of Love Living Local 315. We are your hosts, Scott and Kelly Greats, and today we are joined by Chef Tim Hardiman, founder of Hardiman Hospitality, co-founder of the Tailor and the Cook restaurant, and the host of the Hospitalitarian Podcast. Tim, that all night I stressed about getting that word right. A pioneer of farm-to-table dining and champion of New York's food and wine scene. Tim's redefining hospitality across the Mohawk Valley and beyond. We are super excited to have you with us today, Tim. And no one's more excited than my wife.
Yes, I am super.
I'll just let you take it.
I mean.
Well, thank you. I'm excited too.
All right. So in a region where we have such outstanding food and wine
We do.
and everything, what motivated you to start in the restaurant business?
Well, I was born into it.
Okay.
My dad operated a bar, bowling alley, diner up on Route 12 in Barneville, Adirondack Lanes. I'm sure most people are familiar
I didn't
with
know
it. So,
that.
I didn't know that either.
that truly, I really was. And before that, he was a co-proprietor of the Marble Hill Inn. And so, yeah, I was truly born into it. And like almost all of us, I left for a time. But I didn't leave food service really ever. There was one little hiatus, but it was still attached to food in a couple of different ways.
And the way you do food is so unique too. The farm to table, the whole story behind it. And that's what's really intriguing to me. And I feel like you did it with Tailor and the Cook and co-founding it at a point where it was unheard of in Utica to have a restaurant like that. And now I feel like it's definitely made its way to this region. So,
It totally has.
yes.
And that is, if there's any like success in the brand of the Tailor, to me, that's it. Like
for sure.
the awareness of our local food economy.
And
that wasn't a direct success to me. That's a community thing.
And our ability to do it as a region is huge because not every place can sustain a farm to table.
No, certainly not.
Yeah.
Certainly not.
Go ahead.
Yeah, well, it's your show. I'm not trying to be fanboy here, but we're not going to harp on the Tailor. But
Yes.
I will say that we dine out a lot, and we've lived in a few different places. We travel a lot, and I can say with confidence, probably the last 10 years, any major event or celebration or something, we would go to your restaurant. And what we loved about it was like it was never the same menu, and just reading where the food came from.
Yep.
And so as I was researching a little bit last night, I heard you say you want to get back to a place where our grandparents were, where you knew where your food came from.
Yeah.
So what in you is so passionate, or where did that come from with the connection with the farms and knowing where the food comes from?
It wasn't always like that for me. I worked probably at this point, 46 years old, let's say half of my career, in the space where I wasn't focusing on, the source, or not as much. And that was in, the restaurants that I worked in, or the hospitality, food and beverage operations that I worked in, they ran the gamut, but none of them were locally focused. To make a really long story short, my oldest son, Finn, who's now 16, was born with some really significant food allergies, which all, by the way, are gone. And we didn't have anything to do with that. He just grew out of them. But that's what shifted my wife, Melissa, and my focus on what we were eating. Because this kid is under 1 year old and afflicted with tremendous food allergies. Where did that come from? Not anything he had to do with what my wife and I were eating, right? That's what we believe. And we don't have any medical background. And we saw some allergists and did some conventional stuff, but really we decided that rather than poking him with needles, we would first attempt to pay attention to what we were feeding him, or the lack thereof what we were feeding him. So that's where the focus started. At that time, I was working at one of the hottest restaurants in Utica and still is today, Delmonico's. I mean, busy. From scratch restaurant. not focusing on sourcing locally, and it would be a really challenging conversation in a volume like that. But that's where I was when we started paying attention to what we were buying for our home, and started to get involved in this, what at that time was a really budding local food scene. And we got in obviously the farmers markets existed, not in Oneida County yet, but, Clinton and a couple of other small ones. But we got into a buying cooperative, and we really started to make these people our community. And that's what happens when you're getting food from someone and it's a hand-to-hand transaction. You get to know them. You can ask them questions. And in almost all cases, they become your friend, or at least, a strong acquaintance. And that's what matters, right? An organic stamp doesn't matter. I like it when they practice organics, but I don't care about a certification or really any certification except for a handshake or a text or the ability to ask questions. And we're only a couple of generations removed from that. Our grandparents, and in some cases our parents, could talk about a milkman or a farmer down the road or, a bakery and it's not to say that is totally void from our day-to-day, but 15, 17 years ago, 16, when Finn was born, it wasn't as common as it is today. And so that's where the nexus of the Hardimans paying attention to the source of their food. And then, fast forward to the launch of the restaurant, we thought that the extrapolation of that concept, what we were doing in our homes, could be an interesting idea for a restaurant. That's how it started.
Well, and we can also get into the wine too, because we have an awesome wine.
I should have brought a bottle of wine.
So we're doing the dry January.
A lot of people are, so I'm glad I did it.
And I'm not gonna lie, I watched your first episode with Frank Elias, and you guys opened by cheersing a local bottle of wine, and it hurt a little.
It stung.
Yeah. I was like, what a great idea that we can't do.
And that was
just 26 more days. 20.
And it is so awesome to be able to get great wines right from our local regions.
I couldn't agree more.
And that's one thing that we looked forward to when we came to the restaurant. And in a way, it brought us to wineries that we never even knew existed, because we would go out to the Finger Lakes at least twice a year. Even in college, we were going. And you hit all those big commercialized, like, we won't mention any names because some people probably like them. But
there's a taste for everyone.
There is a taste for everyone. Maybe not a wine taste, because I really don't feel like some of it tastes like wine. But you brought us to so many great wineries just from that list, that we would be in the restaurant and say, we need to make it here because this wine was fantastic. Yeah. So thank you for that as well.
If on another, feather in the cap of the brand of the Tailor, like, if I've connected those dots to other people, be they wineries or breweries or distilleries or farmers of any sort, then that's a tremendous success, because it really is a reciprocal relationship.
All right, so let's move into Hardiman Hospitality,
cool.
Your next chapter. Tell us about it.
Well, I mean, this is an infant, if there ever was. And I'm at a place where the time was right to step away from the Tailor and the cook and do something. I mean, I'm not going to lie to you. It's always going to be local for me. So the brand, while it's something new, is conceptually pretty similar. Buy from my friends, cook tasty food.
Yeah.
Talk about it. It's pretty much. But the podcast is part one that I was able to launch right away. Totally designed to tell those stories that we've been telling in smaller pieces for lots of years, because there is a story behind the food or the ingredient or the farm or the person. And that's worth talking about, because what's more important than what we eat or drink? I mean, we're putting something inside of our body. What's more important in knowing how that got to us.
Yeah.
To me, nothing. Not everybody feels that way. Sometimes I can be a little soapboxy, and I've learned to measure that depending on the audience. You know, some people just don't care as much. Some people can't afford to or don't think they can afford to.
Mm-hmm.
Is that a common misconception?
I think it is.
I think it's a huge misconception.
I think it is. I think that 20 years ago to source locally for your home table was a little more expensive. But get to the farmer's market and tell me that you can't buy proteins for, I mean, there are some really cheap odd options for what we eat in big box stores.
Sure.
But it makes you question. Like,
Makes me question.
how can they give this to me at that price? How can this be good for me?
How could something have been
Yeah, that's what I struggle
birthed
with.
or born, raised, processed, packaged, shipped to me for that price?
Or what some people don't understand that don't cook, and I do a lot of cooking in our house, is you can tell when you're preparing the chicken, the beef, whatever you're preparing, the quality of it.
Sure can.
And the difference in the looks, the textures. And then even my kids will be like, this chicken tastes kind of chewy. And I'm like, well, you know, it's not the normal chicken that I usually buy. And I'm like, exactly. Like some people don't cook. They don't realize it. Or they're eating ultra processed food that doesn't even taste the way it's supposed to taste.
Totally. And that has kind of been the ethos for how the cuisine of, I guess I have a brand, Tim Hardiman, Hardiman Hospitality. That's the ethos of so if I'm getting it locally and just because I'm sourcing locally, it still has to be good.
Right.
Then when I'm putting it on the plate for you guys, my goal is to pretty much stay out of the way. You know, like I'm not a real showy cook. The technique and the preparation is minimal because you've got really good quality. So stay out of the way.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. So many things to talk about here, but I want to get to hospitality, but I want to first, while we're on the quality of food, you spent time in Europe.
I did.
So
It's a long time ago now.
but how much different is Europe when it comes to sourcing local foods? Maybe this is a misconception too, but I feel like farm to table is much more common.
I think that they are a generation or two behind us. I think that the modernization or Americanization of food is becoming a very global conversation. But if you can get out of a metropolitan area in a European country or an old world country, I think that there is still a lot more hand-to-hand commerce with regard to what we're eating. But I when I was in France, in Burgundy, in the countryside, we were in a really small town called Antron in Burgundy, and they had a supermarket. And this was 1998. So, and I don't know what the population of that little Burgundian town was, but it was not large. And they had a supermarket, and there was food of that nature, but there was also a butcher across the street, a baker right next door, people selling eggs or milk. So
a lot more available.
It coexisted more than it does here. And that was just one town that I spent. I did spend time in a few other towns, and then quite a bit of time in Paris. So, Paris is a global city. So, but I do think that, and of course that was a long time ago, going on 30 years ago. Yeah. It was certainly more prevalent then.
So let's talk money, right? Because this is in my entrepreneurial brain. You're talking the Delmonico's, and no shade there at all, but when you're mass producing food, you made a business decision to stay small out of the gate and honor your mission of farm to table. How difficult was that, knowing you probably could have made more money?
It's an impossible way of life when you do it the easiest way you possibly can. Yeah, smart business people would look at the business model of the tailor and the cook, or the concept of sourcing locally, and see that there is a lot of money left on the table because there's a lot more labor involved. When you're sourcing something locally, you have to do all the work. There's very little value-added product in that sphere. I'm not saying there's not any. And thankfully, as demand rises, you'll see more value-added product. Let's say, pickles or krauts or certain types of pastries or things that, you can purchase locally that have used local products, and you don't have to do all the work. But all the economies of scale of a volume restaurant that equal profitability do not fit into a farm-to-table concept.
Yeah.
So if you want to get rich, the restaurant isn't the way to do it. Some people can buck that concept and make a really good living. In the farm-to-table sphere, it's going to be even more difficult.
But it's the experience. It's the hospitality. It's the whole experience that you take in. And that's something that you're providing now in home for people, which is intriguing to me, because there's times that Scott and I, we're foodies and we love to go out to eat. But if you have a big group of people and you want to go to a restaurant, a lot of your options are limited because they won't accommodate a large group of people.
It's tough. Yeah.
But you still crave the type of food that you want in a place like that. So that's what you're creating.
I like the spin you put on it there, Kelly, and I'm probably going to use that concept. I hadn't really thought about it like that.
For sure.
Yeah, but the size of the amount of people that I'm cooking for now is a lot less, which I like. And yeah, so a big party for Hardiman Hospitality might be 10 people.
Well,
but that is a difficult party to take out in the world. And
for sure.
And it's getting the reservation, it's getting good service, it's getting the food that you want, it's having the space or the time.
Exactly.
And then everybody has to leave too,
Yeah. Well, I think that's the thing.
The rush of getting the next table in, and how long are you going to take up the table?
The pace and the comforts.
Yeah.
Of the stories, and frankly, having you on demand. Right?
Yeah. I just did an event in the home of some people here in the Mohawk Valley, and it was 3 couples, and they were all staying overnight, and they had a really special night. I had a really special night. Melissa and I were really lucky to be a part of that. But the wine was flowing, the jokes, the conversation. We all know what happens around the table of a really good meal and really good company.
Yeah.
I mean, that it sounds a little kitschy, but it can be kind of transcendental. You know, I mean, when you're with people that you really care about and you're sharing good food. And then you don't have to drive home.
And you don't have to drive home, and you don't have to worry about
that's the other factor.
Exactly.
Totally.
The other thing is so let's say that Scott and I cook, I have a stove, do people need a really fancy kitchen for you to come in and prepare? No way, right?
No, most of the time I like to put my eyes on it beforehand, because if you've if it's one of those glass top stoves, or if like my kitchen, one of the burners isn't currently working,
I love that.
Then I can just tweak the menu to know. I mean, I can cook over a campfire if I need to. I just need to know what I'm walking into.
Exactly.
The only thing I require when I'm going into somebody's house is I ask them to clear the countertops off for me.
Okay.
Because
that's not a hard ask, right? If you're going to be entertaining people.
People are like, "Oh, I love cleaning off the counter," because some people have a lot of things on their counters. I need the space, and I have to lay everything out in front of me because I'm coming in, with all of my tools, whether it's the mise en place of the meal or I'm bringing the pots and pans. In most cases, the china, silver, glass. Unless
that's awesome.
Sometimes they want to use their stuff, and that's cool too. But if they don't, or they don't have enough of the setting, if they're pulling a party of 10, then they might not have a setting for 10. So I'm bringing everything in, and I need some space to be able to lay it out so that one, I'm not cluttered. For the most part, they're going to be watching what I'm doing. I need a lot of space, but that's legitimately the only real requirement I have.
So you mentioned watching what you're doing. Is that part of the experience?
Depends on what they want.
Okay.
They
Some
want to be
people
part
may
of it.
just want to have you cook for them
Some
and
people,
go in the living room and have drinks. And
not too many people, because I think that our reputation kind of precedes us. We're going to be bringing in cool products.
Yep.
If you'd like me to talk about them, I can do that.
Right.
I'm a talker. So that's kind of one of the things. Remember, I said that I can be a little soapboxy. I got to read the room, If you're not interested, I keep my mouth shut, and let you enjoy yourself. So it really depends on the guest, but most of the time they want to talk. They want to hear about it. And we end up really interacting, and I'm probably going to have a glass of wine with you, and Melissa is going to be there, curating the service of it, and it ends up being a pretty interactive.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be fast, and then at the end, like, if I've done my job well, the table is for the most part clear.
Mm-hmm.
But the wine glasses and water glasses are still full, and we can quietly wipe things down, and we've been cleaning as we go and out the door. And the meal can continue. I'm going to leave some treats on the table for you, and you don't have to worry about the dishes or really anything.
And the other thing that people should realize is they should try something new. And that's something that I love to do when I go to farm-to-table restaurants or unique places, is like, so many people go to a restaurant and they get the same thing.
Totally.
Chicken parm or this or that. And it's like, I would be so excited to have you come in and prepare something that I have never tried to prepare before and experience it, because I don't know how to do it. And it's a learning experience, and you can teach people.
I wish everybody looked at it like that, Kelly, because that would have made our job a lot easier. There's only so many filet mignons on a cow. Right. And that cow is large. And this is kind of a segue that I didn't necessarily need to go down, but in that sort of a concept, when we're talking about protein, or really anything, any piece of produce, if I'm buying it locally from a friend and I'm paying a good $1 for it, remember, there's no middleman there. So the money I paid is to the producer. I need to use it all, and I need to use it wisely. And whether that means, the purchasing of a whole animal or a half of an animal. But you can't just pick out the good things. Yeah. And that's one of the things that's so messed up about the commoditization of our food supply, is like filet mignon, ribeye, strip steak. Yeah. Well, there's only a small amount of those. A cow is the easiest way to talk about things. Yep. You take the strips and the ribeyes and the filet mignons, and then maybe the next tier, the flanks, the flat irons, the skirts. Mm-hmm. Okay, now you've taken. They call those the middle meats, or the prime cuts. You're left with like hundreds of pounds of beef. Yeah, and I mean, can you grind it all? Sure, and you make it into burgers. But I mean, the Tailor and the Cook, the original Tailor and the Cook, wasn't a burger joint. Right. The new one is. Right. And I love that about it. But you have to be able to try, like, we killed this animal to eat it. We're going to use it all. Yeah. The pig, to take that conversation, the pig, we're gonna cook the ears, the snout, the cheeks, the tail. Yep. The trotters. And we got to figure out how to make that palatable and enticing to you as the guest. One, because the animal deserves it. Two, because there's no other way from a profitability standpoint unless you're using it all. Yep. And you have to use every little bit of it. And that's really important. And that is the ultimate, nod to the quality of the food. So you might not be trying some crazy ingredient, but just a different cut of it. Right. Or, like a really cool piece of produce that you didn't know existed, you know, and the ugly produce, right? The seconds and the kohlrabis and the radicchios and the things that get left behind a lot.
So now let's move into the podcast. And I know instantly why you created a podcast, because your passion for food and telling the stories. And so what can people expect to hear on episodes? People
can expect to hear, you know, it's starting with, it will grow to what I envision as a New York State conversation. Obviously, it's going to start with some of my closest friends because they have really good stories to tell and I know them well. And I've got to learn how to do this.
That's how we started. We invited all of our friends on first.
And you know, I like the ability to sit in person. I don't think it'll always be like that. We're definitely going to, I want to, you know, I'm not going to get somebody from Long Island to take a trip to Utica.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
you might.
Maybe I could. You know, there is a lot to do here.
If you cook for them, maybe.
But, you know, in the you know, like, hey, if you're coming up here, let me know.
Right.
That sort of a thing, and we'll record a show. But I think we'll probably do some offsite stuff. I think we'll do some Zoom stuff. People in food, beverage, hospitality, and agriculture. Those are the people that I know. And those four things can connect a lot of people.
Yeah.
And there are some really cool conversations to have. I don't think that those need to be super rigid. I think that we could talk to politicians or lawmakers that are involved in you know, the food economy. I think we can talk to producers and restaurateurs and farmers and winemakers and brewers and distillers, and there's just so many cool stories out there. Like Ryan Miller, who is producing the podcast for me and just a tremendous resource. He told me, you make a list of people and you make a list of topics and then you connect them. And I mean, I just don't even have enough pages in my notebook. I just keep writing people's names down.
It is wild. When we started, you know, not that we had a scarcity mindset, but we're like, well, how long before we're out of
people,
cool people? You know, our mission is to shine a spotlight on amazing people.
We don't want to get in the habit
things.
Of interviewing the same, you know what I mean, like profession over and over again.
How many amazing people are doing amazing things?
And what you're
in
like
a 30-mile radius
into this, and
and it's like we
haven't even scratched the surface.
No. We're getting to some really good people now. Like
you.
For sure. Well, thank you.
So this might be a really ignorant question, but just my own brain here. There's the farmers markets. Right, where like on Saturday you can go to Clinton and you know whatever. How come there's not a centralized store,
like a co-op?
Yeah, maybe there is. You know, where all the farmers where you know maybe I don't have 10 to 12 on Saturday but tonight I'd love to go get locally sourced food from. Is that
there are some options? They're not good enough yet, and it's a hard business to run.
I almost feel like it would have to be like a non.
Well, like we reached out to Sarah. Sarah was on the podcast.
Sarah Calero. You know Sarah?
You know, and she was amazing. And having that conversation with her, I then followed up with an email, and she gave me, there are some farms and people that have a pretty good website now where you can go to now if like if that time frame doesn't work for you. And some people have the misconception that they can get food from them year round. It's not just during the summer at farmers markets.
There are a lot of options. You have to be willing to put in a little work, whether it's to drive to some place or to at least research it. But a lot of farms now have pretty robust farm stores. I don't really want to name any because I don't want to I don't want to leave anybody out. I'm terrified of that.
Same.
But because I've got a lot of them on me. But like if you've heard about a farm, check out their website or their Facebook. They'll let you know if they have a farm store, and very often they're carrying things from other places. Peters in New Hartford is doing a great job at sourcing some things locally. They're probably their first tier is you know organic, and then their second tier of you know how they source is local. Tom's Natural Food in Clinton, a revival of a brand that lived in Clinton for the better part of 40 years. Tom and Bonnie retired. Tom passed away. But that concept of this Whole Foods market in Clinton, it just would not leave the ethos of the community. And it's been revived as a not-for-profit cooperative.
Okay.
A really cool story, a really great place to shop. Again, it's not every day, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. You have to be able to plan. And I mean, we're only, again, I say this like we're only 2 generations past when you couldn't get whatever you wanted whenever you wanted it.
Exactly.
You know, and I still not a huge fan of strawberries in January. But I have 2 kids, you know,
Right.
and like we need fruit in the house and you know, you can only eat so many apples. So the ability to do what we've done with food and be able to, like, I still go to Hannaford and Price Chopper and purchase things for our home.
Mm-hmm.
I have to.
Right.
I do not live in a bubble, but the seasonality of things is important to me. You know, I mean, we always have bananas in our house. Those are neither local nor seasonal, you know,
Right.
but we need them.
Yeah.
And even big box like Hannaford and Price Chopper are carrying some local products. Now that you're not going to see center of the plate proteins or dairy in those places, but you're going to see processed foods or prepared foods like jams and jellies and you know, seasonings, things like that. Even if that is like where you start off on locally sourcing, then that's good. You know, you're still, there is a middleman involved there, but there's also buying cooperatives. Local Foods Mohawk Valley is a great one. You have to put in a little bit of legwork, and you might have to take a little drive. But when we really think about it, like, is that a bad thing?
Right.
You know, like, can we get ourselves out of the routine? Like, what are you doing this weekend? Why not take a trip to? Well, I'm going to throw in Jones Family Farm because I love Peter
They're
and
huge,
Susie.
yeah.
They're down your guys' way. You know, the valley is the Mohawk Valley is the breadbasket of this community.
Mm-hmm.
Peter and Susie have a 7-day-a-week on-farm store that is open. You help yourself. They've got a dozen or more different producers in there. What are you doing on Saturday? Why not drive there? You know,
Yeah,
like,
you're going to have to grocery
you can
shop
also
anyway.
look through the window and watch Peter and his daughter Harper make cheese. Like it's like a fishbowl. And that seems like a pretty cool thing to me.
Yeah.
I know that not everybody thinks that, but why not? Why not plan a little bit to get some of those things? It doesn't mean that you have to buy every pork chop and piece of beef that you're eating locally, but find a place, a farm stand, North Star or you know, one of these great local markets that might have a good amount of locally produced products. And you know, the more you look, the more you'll find. It isn't as hard as people think it is. Nor is it as expensive.
And it should be a priority. So many people now, we're in the new year and I'm going to join a gym and I'm going to do this. Why not pay more attention to the food that you're putting in your body?
I think we had quite a sea change during COVID. People really noticed that there were gaps in the supply chain of what we ate during COVID. And I know I got involved in that supply chain in different ways because we couldn't keep the restaurant open. We weren't really the kind of place to throw a chicken parm in a box.
Right.
We did do some takeaway, but we did it in interesting ways. I think that changed a lot of people's attention with regard to what they're eating for the better. I think there's a lot of good things that came out of the pandemic for me personally, for us as a person. A lot
People
of bad
had
things.
to cook.
Yeah.
You couldn't. There were many places that were not even open, and you're not going to eat McDonald's or fast food. And so a lot of people that don't cook, typically, do you have something on your face? No. They were forced to cook. And so I think that you're right, that definitely the pandemic and the amount of money that we saved on going out to eat was huge too.
Totally.
We realized how much money we were spending going out to eat when we stopped going out to eat.
Yeah, you know, that's an interesting thing too. It's like, it isn't cheap to go out to eat.
No.
So why are we fretting so much over the cost of a raw product
Exactly.
when we are cooking it at home? And I mean, let's say you bought the highest end duck from a cooperative that was raised in New York State, and you paid whatever, and you went home and cooked it. It's still cheaper than duck at the Tailor and the Cook or any, right?
Yeah.
Or what you're going to pay a waitress or something else. Yeah, exactly.
And you get
all of it.
the opportunity to cook it for your family or your friends. I mean, that
so true.
to me, like, let's stop focusing so much on the cost of something. Well, obviously, we all have to focus on the cost of something. But I guess I shouldn't say let's stop focusing on it, but let's like reframe it.
Change
How
your
much?
perspective on it,
context.
Right.
Yeah.
Let's talk about a word that we use all the time, but we don't know what it means. Hospitality, right? So you've got different versions of this. What's it mean to be hospitable? You're the hospitalitarian. What does hospitality mean to you?
Hospitality is a mindset, I believe. It is also a sector of the workforce, but to me, it's a mindset. And it is, I mean, it's as simple as the golden rule. I mean, treat those the way you wish to be treated, There is a transaction happening when you feed someone. You have chosen to give me your money. In exchange, you expect to be fed and well taken care of. To me, hospitality doesn't have to be high-end, fancy, fine dining. Hospitality can occur in fast food, in fast casual. It is attention to detail. It is empathy. It is concern beyond the transaction for the person that you're dealing with. Some people have it and some people don't. And people that don't have hospitality in their bones, they're not bad people. They're just not service-oriented people. Okay?
That's a great way to put it.
They don't belong in hospitality or retail because that sort of hand-to-hand transaction isn't their forte. That doesn't mean they don't have hospitality in them or they can't practice hospitality, but they certainly don't want to be immersed in it. To me, it is, and it's not like the customer is always right.
They're not.
They are definitely not. But you can handle someone who is wrong with hospitality. Yeah. You can handle a disagreement, a transaction, a conversation with hospitality no matter what. It's not to say that I don't have a temper or I don't sometimes come to a place where you leave the realm of hospitality into reality, right? But to me, it really is a service-focused concept.
Yeah, I love the idea of beyond the transaction. And I could make a strong case in many industries that everyone is very transactional based right now. And so
we are.
I think there's such a huge opportunity with what you're doing, and people will pay a premium for that level of service beyond just checking the box, because so many people are just checking boxes out there in so many different industries. So for you young listeners, who are interested in your own business, like just go beyond the transaction.
Yeah.
Before and after.
Yeah.
Before is a very often overlooked part of the transaction. And I'll refer to Delmonico's again and my friend John Wade, who has been a real mentor to me. The thought that's put into a big, busy restaurant like Delmonico's and what happens prior to the meal or the transaction is really important. What does the front of your building look like? What's the sidewalk look like? Cleanliness, obviously. The volume of the music, the level of the lights, the comfort of the chair. When I put food on the plate, anyone who's worked in the kitchen with me hears me say a couple of things when we're putting food on the plate. Obviously, it needs to look good. You're going to eat with your eyes first. We all know that. I don't think it needs to look outlandish, but it needs to look good. Obviously, it needs to taste good, but how does it look? How does it taste? And then I'm asking my cooks or myself, how does it eat? Okay, so like if I gave you a dessert and I didn't give you the proper utensils and you had to cut through that tart with the side of your fork and it went flying off the plate. One, I didn't put it on the right plate. Two, I didn't give you the right utensils. Now you're embarrassed. And I should have known that. I made it. You know, the seat needs to be comfortable, but not so comfortable that you stay all night. Those parts of the transaction, following up afterwards, you know, if there was a problem, how you handle that defines you as a business person, you as a hospitalitarian, you as a person. Are you going to follow up on a problem? Are you going to be genuinely concerned about whether you made it right? If you are, you have the ability to make a friend or a guest or a patron for life, how you handle that.
Yeah, I love the details, the intricacy, the thought that goes into it. This was a staple, a trademark of everything you did.
Totally.
You know, we would go to the Tailor, and we weren't there all the time, but it felt like we were. Like greeted by name. I mean, so we had a reservation, but greeted by name, you know, great to see you again, even though we probably haven't been there in 6 months, but you felt like a friend walking in.
If we were doing our job, we knew why you were there.
Yeah.
You know, anniversary, birthday. Maybe you told us once, you shouldn't ever have to tell us again.
Yeah.
We have the ability in this day and age to profile our guests in good ways.
Yep.
You know,
If you don't like anchovies or you're gluten-free, you only need to tell me that once.
That's amazing.
Why should you have to walk into my restaurant and tell me that a second time?
Yeah.
That is not why you chose to give me your money.
Yeah.
You know,
That's huge.
when we come to the table with your food, I'm not asking who had the meatloaf. I know who had the meatloaf. You already told me. You don't have to tell me again. Now, who had the meatloaf and who had the chicken? Now, unless you've switched seats, it's going to be in front of you because we know.
Yeah.
Those are simple intricacies to a service-oriented experience that, to me, are often overlooked, and it does not have to be high-end.
Yeah.
I can still put that burger in front of you and the wings in front of you and the fries in front of you because you already told me your order.
The table would be clean between, you know, appetizers and you know, new wine glasses. You know, the chef prepared this special dessert palate
treat.
cleanser for you.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, new silverware, like you mentioned. I mean, these things are huge.
And they are points that when people recognize them, that's what really matters to us because they're not profitable points of a
They are in repeat business,
Indeed.
retention. Yeah,
Indeed.
I mean, you know, the reason we go back, the reason we don't care what the bill is.
Well,
ask anyone who's worked for me how many pieces of silver or glass they've polished in their life, and they'll tell you they're all done with it. You know, because those are details. I mean, that's why you're paying and those things. You know, they do depend on the volume of the operation. You know, not everybody can do that.
Right.
But I always wanted to be in a space that the volume was manageable enough that we could handle those things.
And even when we lived in Virginia, I still remember this. This is funny. And then you took me out to an anniversary dinner someplace. And they had
Virginia, Tim, is when we were broke.
This was a big deal. This was before Tailor and the Cook was even thought
Before
about.
you
We
moved
were
home.
down there. We were
Kids
young.
are young.
We had no money.
Kids weren't even born.
Oh my
kidding.
God. It was huge. And they had a menu, a personalized menu that said like happy anniversary. Like what did that cost just to print that on? It's a piece of paper.
Yeah.
It's a piece of paper. And they gave us a coffee mug.
Yep.
We still have that coffee mug in our bathroom, and it holds our Q-tips.
24 years ago.
And you still think about it.
I still think about it because
Yeah.
that was the first time we were given what felt
Personal
like
treatment.
a personalized experience in a restaurant.
And it was the only time
huge.
we'd been there.
It was,
Yeah.
You know, it wasn't like they knew us.
No.
Yeah,
It was
so-
huge. It was huge for
All right,
us.
we can geek out.
I know.
Forever,
We totally
but,
I knew I was going to love this. I know. I'm sorry.
But I do want to talk about the future.
Yes.
Let's end
Cool.
with what's next for you and how do people connect and what can we expect?
I got this thing that I just learned about called a link tree that's got all my stuff on it. I got to give a big shout out to Ryan Miller and Ryan McGrogan. These two guys have literally been propping me up along with my wife, Melissa, in the concept development of Hardiman Hospitality, because this is a much smaller business where I'm doing a lot more of things that I didn't always do. Facebook and Instagram and YouTube for the podcast and all these tiresome social medias that I'm trying to, it's me doing it. Here's the dirty secret. So it's me. Yeah. We've got the personal chef services. I'm not a caterer. I'm not doing your graduation party buffet. That's just not my deal.
Not a tray of ZD guy.
It's me and Melissa. Yeah. So we're coming into your home and doing multi-course meals. That's not for everyone. I'm in the new year here, and you'll hear it here first, launching a cooking class concept where I can come to you or you can come to me in my home. Come and hang out in my kitchen, or I'll come and hang out in your kitchen. Couples or parties of 4. What's the class about? I don't know. You tell me. What do you want to cook?
That's so
what
awesome.
Haven't you cooked? Right. What
always got his first customer?
Is it an ethnicity or is it an ingredient? Are we going to drink some wine? Let's talk about it. What are we going to do? It's going to take some time. So I'm looking forward to that. I definitely do want to focus more on spreading out the transaction and making it a little bit more hospitable, having more opportunities for hospitality. Down the road, I'm looking at consultation, helping people source locally. Specifically, I'd really like to spend some time in the space of New York State wine. It is a real passion project of mine, and there's still a lot of work to be done. And a winery can't. I want to speak for the whole, not a winery, but the whole of New York State, and try and help people understand what's good, where to get it, how to source it, how to drink it. Mm-hmm. I think that's really important. I don't know what that part of Hardiman Hospitality is yet, but I know I'm ready to do it. I am going to be down in New York City next week at the New York Wine and Grape Foundation's, what is the title of it? Leadership Summit. I was invited down there to talk about, branding and marketing and sustainability of the brand of the state. And so I'm excited about that. What's not coming is probably easier. I'm not opening a restaurant, just so you guys know. But I a 7-day a week, 5-day a week restaurant is not for me anymore. Yeah. That's not where my heart or my physical body is at any longer. Really? And but that doesn't mean you're not going to see me cooking in ways that are far more balanced for my family and my person, and sustainability has always been a big word used in the local food scene. I need to look at sustainability for myself,
for sure,
my wife, my family, my home. But I have to make a living, so Hardiman Hospitality is about finding a balance where I can practice my trade, make a good living, be hospitable to the people that are interested in what I do, and have a balance that I never had before.
It's awesome.
That's amazing.
Yeah, we never got into the wine.
Oh my God, the wine. We need to February. Do a whole nother. We need to have you back, and then we just need to do a whole.
That would be cool.
Site.
Love Living Local road trip. I mean, Finger Lakes.
One of our favorite wineries.
No, you're our main guest.
You're taking
we'll
us.
Pay.
We've got a
that
quick
would
story.
Be fun, guys.
We went down to Shaw, and we actually were able to meet him. Don't you remember?
Steve
we
Shaw.
met him.
He's
very eccentric.
He looked very eccentric, but looked like just a worker. And he's like, "No, this is mine."
Shaw
was they're great.
One of the there's three wines that started our New York State wine program, and Shaw was one of them.
And I am telling you, just meeting him and his story, and just that experience was that's still one that we have a couple that we always have
further
when
south
we
go on the top end of that lake.
Yeah.
That sounds like a fun idea. We should get together and drink a bottle of wine and,
Oh my
and
God.
talk
Yeah,
about
absolutely.
it.
What could go
in
wrong?
February.
All right, we close these with some rapid fires. Sometimes they're rapid, sometimes they're not.
Well,
We'll
this
see
is
how
a
we
good-
did.
this is
I got to be honest.
Yeah.
I've been nervous about this one because I am a career overthinker.
Oh my God.
And so anytime that things are rapid fire, I end up like,
Well, normally we
Well,
do. I don't want to make it any more nervous, but we usually have 5. We got 10 for you.
Okay.
Well,
So,
okay. But if we ask you something and you just say pass, you can pass. You can pass.
phone
but-
a friend.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly. You can pass it. All right. Favorite New York State wine region?
My knee jerk is to say the Finger Lakes. It's closest. It's the most robust.
Mm-hmm.
I am very, very interested in the wines of Long Island, and they are farther from us. But that's going to be my next kind of. I want to get more in tune with those.
Okay.
this is not a rapid fire question, but my brain. Is there something healthier about local wines? And we talk farm to table food. Like, is there something with the grapes that from
I
our
think
region?
it's important to eat and drink in place as much as possible. I think that whether it's molds or fungus or natural immunities,
pollen.
spores, pollens, I think that's important. That's kind of far-fetched. No, but most of these are smaller scale.
Yep.
Less, people are using sulfites.
Sure.
It's an important part of making wine. Is there sulfite-free wine? Sure.
Mm-hmm.
There's a tremendous natural wine movement happening in New York State. Before the wine is made, there is a lot of sustainability and organics paid attention to in New York State when it comes to grape growing. So I think that I could, if you're going to put me in a Lincoln Douglas debate on the health, I could
Make
do
a
a pretty
case.
good job.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
All right. Back to the rapid fire. Go-to comfort food.
Mac and cheese or fried chicken,
Love it. Most used ingredient in your kitchen?
salt.
That's me.
One kitchen tool you can't live without.
Cake tester. It has to be, I have to explain it. A little metal rod with a
Yeah.
plastic piece
Yeah.
on the top. Oftentimes we'll use a toothpick, but the metal makes more sense. But I rarely use it for testing cake. The texture of a braised meat, the temperature of a piece of steak, the texture of roasted vegetables.
Yep.
Using it, poking something with it, also touching it after it is pulled out of something, touching it to my face so I can tell the interior temperature of it. It's quicker and faster than a thermometer. It's more muscle memory, and it's really important.
That's
Now,
why I
there's
test our
something they can't
lasagna. I
teach.
put the
Yeah.
knife in and then I hold my finger on the knife to make sure it's warm.
Yep.
Music while cooking, yes or no?
1,000% yes.
Go-to music.
It would be hard to pin something down, but I probably listen to more bluegrass music than anything, especially when I'm cooking.
Okay.
It's I like the up tempo.
That was question 11, by the way. I'm just adding to the list for 10. That
Okay,
wasn't
yeah,
even
we're,
on
we're
there.
just going all
Cool,
out.
I'm doing okay.
Yeah, you're doing great.
I'm not overthinking too much.
Favorite
Whoa.
food city outside of Central New York?
Wow. There are some pretty amazing food cities. I very recently came back from Woodstock, New York. I wouldn't call that a city. It's a town.
Yeah.
It's got a great food scene.
Really?
Oh, if you haven't spent a weekend in Woodstock, you got to get there.
Well, see,
We have not.
that's amazing because a lot of times we drive back from the city and we're always like, where should we stop to eat?
Totally.
All
And
right.
right down there, also Hudson, New York, great food town.
Good tip.
There's a lot of them within a few, Geneva,
Yeah,
Ithaca,
we go to Geneva a lot.
Syracuse,
Yeah.
Yeah. Coffee order.
Americano, black, couple cubes of ice so I can drink it immediately.
Oh my God.
Some people, they look at me and they're like,
Losing
so
my-
you want an
losing
iced
my wife.
Americano?
Yeah,
She's-
You want an
I'm-
iced Americano? No,
She's
Don't tell your
fangirling,
wife, don't
yeah.
worry, don't worry. We just have a lot in common.
Yeah, that's my wife's
That's my
coffee order.
order.
What are the chances? One hospitality lesson everyone should learn.
Treat people the
Yeah,
way
golden
you
rule.
wish to be treated,
Yeah.
respectfully.
Describe your cooking style in 3 words or less.
Simple.
All right. And then
That
what?
was one word.
That was great.
That was
Yeah.
really good.
I underthought it.
A lot of people go, well, I can't
In my
just do
mind,
it in
I'm like,
one
this
word.
is like a way overthink question, and you just crushed that one. What's one dish that says home to you?
Breakfast, pancakes. To me, when I think of home and eating, it's obviously my wife, my two sons, and myself around the table. I don't know. When you said home, I thought about a table where there was light shining in the window. It wasn't nighttime. There weren't candles. It wasn't
Fancy
at
real.
all.
It was real. Yeah.
It was pancakes, but whenever we have breakfast, we do it right. So we'll have pancakes and scrambled eggs, bacon, juices on the table, and to me, my mind goes there.
Chef Tim Hardiman, Hardiman Hospitality, host of the Hospitalitarian. It's been a long time coming, my friend. I'm glad we finally connected.
So grateful for this opportunity, and I think we could talk for many hours.
Yep.
I think we do.